Hi there and welcome back. Last we talked, we had gotten textWrangler downloaded and installed. So in this video, we're going to cover the program setup and configuration so that you can get it connected to the Linux lab and help you conform it to the style guides of BYU Idaho, and just generally get everything ready to go so that you can get started coding. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get started. So first of all, I'm just going to clean up after myself here because everything's installed. So I'm going to eject the disk image, and we don't need Safari anymore, and we no longer need the App Store. So, all right, now, so let's get textWrangler launched. So I'm just going to go do a search in Spotlight because I'm lazy. All right, so there's textWrangler. Alrighty. So now if you download it from their site, you're going to get this warning the first time, so just click open. Alright, looks like it already wants our attention here, so let's go see what it wants. Okay, so I guess, alright, I'm just going to say skip registration, but there are some command line tools that it's going to want to install. Alright, so I'm just going to say skip registration, and then it needs your authorization to install those, so I'm just going to put my password in. Okay. And alright, and there we go. So textWrangler is up, and we're good to go. One thing before I get started, though, since if you're going to use this program a lot, what I'd recommend doing is just right-click on the icon and say keep in dock there, so it's always there ready to be launched whenever you want to use it and start coding. Okay, so now that we're launched and we have a window up, what do we need to do? So let's get this configured first to connect to the Linux lab. So to do that, we're going to go to this textWrangler menu here, and we're going to go to Setup. And with this Setup window, we're interested in configuring bookmarks right here. So since we're in bookmarks, let's go ahead and click this plus button. Alrighty. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a bookmark to the Linux lab. So I'm just going to give this bookmark a name. I'm just going to say BYU Idaho Linux Lab. Okay, and we do want to connect with the SFTP protocol, Secure File Transfer Protocol, and now we need to tell textWrangler the IP address of a computer in the Linux lab. So I'm just going to go ahead and type that in. All right, and in addition to that, we also need to give it one other very important piece of information, and that piece of information is a port number. So in order to do that, we need to type a colon, and then we also need to type in a 215. Okay, so and that's all you need to remember is the 215. It's like it's a TCP communication port if you know what that is. But if not, just remember the colon 215. And also one other thing I'd like to bring to your attention is this number here, the 229. It doesn't have to be a 229. It can be any number from like 206 to 236, and any of those numbers will work. So, but in this example, I'm just going to go ahead and use 229. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and put in my username, and the username is your Linux Lab account ID. So I'm just going to put mine in, all right? Okay, and then go ahead and put your password in, and then you need to put in your remote path. Now, what they mean by remote path is the path that your home directory is in, so that when you log in, you'll already be in that directory. So, or in other words, folder. So I'm going to go ahead and put mine in, all right? So what you want to do is put /home, all right? And this is my home directory. Now, when you configure yours, in this area, you're going to want to put the first part of your BYU Idaho email address. So for me, this is the first part of my email address, so that it knows where to find my directory, because your home directory will very likely be a similar thing, the first part of your email address, okay? So, on a side note, please don't spam me. All right, so there we go. So we're done here, and there we go. We have a bookmark set up. So let's go see if it works. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and go to File, and we're going to select Open from FTP/SFTP server. Okay. And then we're just going to go ahead and click this pop-up menu, and look at that. There's our BYU Idaho Linux bookmark that we just created. So I'm just going to let go of the mouse and select that, and everything will be filled in. And so I'm going to go ahead and click Connect. Okay, and we're going to get this box here saying that, we don't know who you are, so should we continue connecting? That is just fine. Just go ahead and click OK. And there we have our file listing, all in a graphical form. So now we can just go here to the CS124 folder. And I'm just going to go into Chapter 2. And I'm just going to open this example document here. So there we go. Everything is open. So notice that the path up here indicates that we are editing the remote file. So any save operations that you do will be on the remote file. So for instance, if I wanted to actually save a copy to that SFTP server, I can just do that right here. So just to show you an example. And there we go. The new number I've put on there has been saved up on that up there. And any edits I make to the file, right? If you look at that, this is an edit that I made, and I just save. Notice it's not prompting me to save it on the local machine. It's saved on the server. So that's one of the big benefits of this program that I really, really like, especially for newer users. So something I'm really sure that you'll like as well. Okay, now that we've gotten this far, there's a few other things that we need to configure, okay? And that's basically going to involve a trip to the preferences panel. So I'm going to go to this TextWrangler menu and open Preferences. Okay, and there's a few things that I'd recommend that you configure so that you can conform to the BYU Idaho style elements of style document that I'm sure you've probably read by now. Number one thing, first of all, is that the lines of code that you write can only be a maximum of 80 characters in length. So one thing to help you do that here is this page guide over here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this to 79 characters, and I'm not going to darken it right over here. You see how it's darkening over here? And then when I move this window out of the way, notice how there's a definite contrast between your editing area and anything past 79 characters. The reason why I'm making this 79 though is that when you have a line of code that's 79 characters long and then you type a return character, that return character then becomes the 80th character. So because if you tried to make it 80 characters long and then you type to return, you'd have 81, and then style checker will complain. So we don't want that. So that's why I'm setting it to 79. And I'd also recommend making this guide contrast as dark as possible, so it makes it obvious, where your boundary is. Okay, so we're just going to move right along here through our application, or through our preferences rather. And the other thing that I'd like to change here is this preference here called Auto Expand Tabs. You see, by default, TextWrangler likes to do tabs when you put the tab key, but that goes against the elements of style document here on campus. So what this Auto Expand Tabs will do is that every time you hit the tab key, it will fill it with a configured number of spaces. Now right now that number of spaces is configured to be 4. However, as per the elements of style document, we only like 3 space tabs, so I'm just going to go change that to 3. Okay, and that's all right here. Another thing I'd like to bring to your attention, it's not a preference that you need to configure per se, but is this emulate Emacs key bindings. If there's things that you've already learned in Emacs and you want to keep on using, you can go ahead and do that right here. TextWrangler understands most Emacs commands. And the benefit of that also is that if your instructor is helping you with your code, and if there's a couple of times he actually needs to get on your computer, everything he knows in the Emacs still applies here. The only thing we're going to do is this display status window so that when he starts doing Emacs stuff, it'll display a little status window so he knows what he's doing. So that's there. Just to here, if you want to change any of the keyboard shortcuts for the menus, you're free to do that here. Text colors. If you get really good at TextWrangler and you really, really like it, know that you can change all these colors here if you like. And also, even though this menu is empty right now, there are color schemes you can download online. I've downloaded a few. I really, really like them, and just something I thought I'd point out. And that pretty much concludes everything we need to do with preferences. So just to recap, we've configured textWrangler with a bookmark to connect to the Linux server and a couple of basic preferences to bring it into compliance with the BYU Idaho Elements of Style document. In the next video, I'm just going to show you a few tips and tricks about how you can get the most out of textWrangler. Okay, so I guess I'll catch you later. Thanks.